It's the cold hard truth. Everyone really want to know what's going on with her show. Just get on the air and you will know it's Sandra. The queen of the mile road is here, helping people from everywhere. Get on the phone and you will hear Sandra. Now she will tell you how it goes, but don't you ever step on her toes, 'cause you will hear the cold hard truth from Sandra. They say she's the hero in town, helping people from all around. You get a call, your money is found, it's Sandra. Some will call her late at night just to say that there is a fight, and she will not just leave it alone. She'll get up and call on the phone, and when politics starts on her show, everyone really wants to know the way the things will really go with Sandra. And some will start to criticize, get on the show and tell pure lies, but someday we'll realize it's Sandra. When they start to argue again, she'll pull the heads to the wind, and soon you will be a friend of Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone wanna hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone wanna hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone got to hear from Sandra. 'Cause every day everyone got to hear from Sandra.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, K-Man. Happy Wednesday. Yes, indeed. It is Hump Day Wednesday. My apologies. It is Hump Day Wednesday. How are you guys doing, honey child? Everybody's good? Awesome. Well, we're going to talk a little bit today about the state of the economy and what is driving up your cost of living. And I know you guys think you know what it is. OMG. But it's more complicated than you know. And I remember last week, I think it was last week, Thursday, we were kind of dissecting our utility bills. And we were talking a bit about that and the impact that that's having on all of us and what is driving that cost, right? And so we're going to take a closer look at some of that this morning. And as I like to say, a deep dive into precisely, what's going on. And I can tell you that so many of you think that Cayman politicians have a lot of control over the economy. And every single time I see it, I don't know how to respond, except it's kind of a little bit of a chuckle and a tear at the same time, because I'm just like, this is like now basic economy 101. And I realize that if you don't know, you don't know. And you always blame and point the finger, my apologies, at the easiest person in the room. And I totally get it. Let me make sure Instagram has started. My apologies, it has not. There we go. I totally get it that when it comes to finger pointing, the one singular bill that we all have that we're like, oh my gosh, it's too high, is definitely our utility bill. And I suppose after the utility bill, the next one would probably be our maybe food bill. food, housing, all of these things, right? Now, I will admit that housing is a primary concern for a lot of us. Trust and believe me, we all feel that pinch as well. I saw a young lady send a message this morning, which I'm gonna share with you guys because I wonder what your advice to her would actually be. People oftentimes reach out to us here. They think that either we have the answers or you guys have the answers, and sometimes it's a lot more complicated than that, and there are no easy answers. And so I read things and I dissect things with the view of the most important way in which we can help people, in my humblest of opinions, is by educating them. Now, I know when you're in a financial situation, you don't want to hear that. You're like, well, what does educating me going to help me with my bills? I'm like, well, bailing people out is the easy solution, but giving them a sustainable long-term plan is the only way that they are going to be able to sustain themselves, so that it's not a constant situation where you're always being bailed out. And so we got to talk about, for example, the banks and how we operate within that ecosystem, if you will, right here in the Cayman Islands. Because a lot of us feel like the banks are there for they're a personal lending institution. And I can tell you that their position is, oh, they'll lend you money for sure, as long as you can repay it. And so you always have to think about that repayment, because that repayment, my gosh, what a situation you're in when you have a bank loan on a piece of land, a house, something substantial. Even your vehicles can be substantial for sure. We all need a little transportation here and there. And how many of us have not made the mistake with the banks of going too big, too much, borrowing too much? Things happen in life. You lose your job. Things just happen. I mean, life is what it is. There's an illness in the family. There's lots of things that can financially derail you. So we're going to talk about some of those elements of our lives here today. So today's primary focus is around the rising cost of food and the real cost of energy. But coming into that, we have to talk about the money, right? The money. What's going on with your money situation here, and how can you be in a better position when it comes to your financial life? All right, so that's what we're going to do today. We'll see where that conversation takes us. There's a couple little things before we get there that I'm going to touch on, and then we're going to start the real conversation probably around 8:15 or so. Fair enough? All right, let me send out the links to everybody. I mean, my objective in life has always been to have my house paid off in full before retirement. And I can tell you that, praise the Lord, hallelujah, that is going to happen here very, very shortly. But it's not something that happens overnight. And I get it that most people may never feel like they are there. And it takes a lot. It really, really does take a lot to even get there. But you gotta focus and make that a priority. So give me one quick second. We're gonna hear a message now from the Ministry of Education and Training about the ECAP program. We keep pushing this program because we want to make sure that everyone is aware of the program, and that you all take full advantage of the ways in which government does provide assistance. Because that government, I feel like they do what they can. But this over-reliance on somebody else to solve our problems, we got to get a hold of this, because in the real world, it just does not happen. I mean, Cayman, I think, cushions us a lot from what's happening in the real world.
For some families, applying for early childhood education support isn't simple, and it has nothing to do with whether they need it. The early years matter more than any other, which is exactly why access to support should never be out of reach. No internet at home, a parent in difficult circumstances, a child in government care. These are real situations, and no child should pay the price for them. So we've introduced the option for a trusted third party to complete the application on a family's behalf. A relative, a social worker, a pastor, someone the family knows and trusts. The parent remains fully informed. Their consent is required, always. This is about making sure no child misses out simply because the process felt out of reach. If you work with vulnerable families in a school, a church, or other agency, you can now step in. That child deserves their chance, and now you can help make sure that they get it.
We talk about equal opportunity. Well, this is what it looks like in practice. A child's start in life should never depend on whether their parent could navigate a form. We've removed that barrier. If you need help applying, or you are in a position to help someone else, use the third-party application option. Visit us at moeapplication.gov.ky and begin the process today.
All right, folks, just trying to figure out why I can't hear anything from my headsets, but give me 1 second. There we go. Just needed to plug that thing back in properly. Okay, so everybody's good. The links have been sent out. We are live and direct. Good morning to all of our Bobo listeners, 103.1 FM. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. So tell me something. What has been the time in your life, perhaps, when you have struggled with your finances the most? Like I said, I feel like we've all been there to some extent. You know, you've got that bank loan, you've got a piece of land, and you're doing your darnest to hold on to the piece of land, making whatever payments you can. I see more and more that some of these companies are trying to get creative with land offerings, right? So big shout out, by the way, to Dale Creighton, because his family has been one that traditionally has, you know, his father has a reputation back in the day for always doing a bit of, you know, owner financing for individuals. And that it can, be very careful, it can offer you an opportunity that the banks may not offer you, because normally when you do these arrangements, there is no, what would we call it? There's no bank checks and references and whatever that are normally required. You pay your deposit, you make your monthly payment. Some of them will do the owner financing for a couple of years. That gives you an opportunity to kind of, you know, have the property go up in value, and then you can go to the bank and complete the financing. So there's actually one right now that the Creighton Properties Company is doing in the Savannah area. It's called the Woodlands, I believe. I'm actually going to get you guys some information on that, because I do believe, depending on your situation, that that can be a workable option for you. But once again, you got to look at the fine print. You got to look at all the details and make sure that when that balloon payment comes due, because most of them will do it that way, that you are actually in a position to make the balloon payment, right? Because if you're not, then you would have given this person all this money over years, and yes, they're not going to give you a refund. You don't get your money back. That's not how that works. I see someone doing one in, I believe it's Little Cayman, and they say for as low as, and then the payment's like over $1,200. Well, I don't know who told them $1,200 is a low payment, and I have no clue who this developer is. I don't know who's doing this. But for most people, a $1,200 payment on a piece of land is not a low payment. So I'm not quite sure. Like every time I see it pop up on my Facebook, Facebook feed, I sit there and I scroll and I think, $1,200. In what world is $1,200 considered a low payment? I mean, I suppose maybe that's lower than a mortgage, depending on the size of your mortgage. I don't know what the average mortgage payment is these days, but that's not a low payment. Nah, what? A low payment? I'm like, okay, I mean, maybe it's average, But I wouldn't, that's not like paying $500 or $250. Now that's what I would consider that a low payment. So anyway, there are options out there. And I think that when we start adulting, we start to look at our options. You just got to be very, very careful ultimately what it is that you decide to do, because you will find yourself struggling with a mortgage payment and a house payment. And, oftentimes we look at the banks and we say, oh, they're so horrible because they're taking people's homes, but it's a business for them. And trust me, it is a business, right? And they are trying to squeeze as much interest out of you as they possibly can. And, but they need you to be consistent with your payments in order for that to be a viable position. Now, if you get over your head, which does happen on occasion, and you start to fall behind in your payments, the banks are also realistic, and they also recognize that in most instances, when that starts to happen, your ability to recover is going to be slim to none. So it's so interesting that we were going to talk about this morning cost of living and finances. And then I woke up to this message, and I'm going to share this message with you because I want you guys to tell me what advice you would give to this young person, okay, who is struggling today with a payment on a piece of land, and they are seeking advice. So let me just see here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to read this to you. It's quite lengthy. So just bear with me as I read it to you, and then we're going to get this show on the road. My monitor I've been having this issue lately with a flickering monitor, and it just hasn't stopped. At times it seems to get worse, and then I unplug it and it gets better. And I got to tell my IT man, he's going to have to figure it out for me. All right. Oh, and we have a good story today. We got a congratulatory story that we are going to be posting about one of our own Cayman Islands pilots who's been promoted overseas. So keep an eye out for that social media post. Really, really pleased that Caymanians can go so many places all over the world and really make our community so proud to say that they are Caymanian, doing such amazing things. So I'm going to show you guys and tell you guys about little bit about that here in just a second. Okay, so let me pull up this story, and then we're going to read it. And I want you guys to weigh in on this, because I think as a community, there are people who have good knowledge and wisdom, and who have perhaps been there. We're still looking, by the way, if you're a person who can offer some education in terms of how to structure your financial life, we're still looking for someone to host such a program and such a show. So yeah, but I find that some people are supposed to be, financial experts, and then we hear that they actually are not. So I don't know what to say about that. But in any event, let's go ahead and read this one together. So it says, hi there. I'm in need of some advice as to how to request to have an anonymous post about something that means, she says, why a lot to me, but she meant a whole lot to me, but I haven't quite been able to figure it out. Also, I apologize for the late/early messaging. This was at 3:21 in the morning. Well, don't worry, I'm not up. So the long story short of it is I just turned 30 this year. I have a piece of land in Beach Bay. I bought a piece of land, my apologies, in Beach Bay when I was 21. I'm not the person to feel like an entitled Cayman or anything of the such, nor am I someone that would normally ask for help, especially financially. However, I do feel that buying property at that age as a young Caymanian is a big step. I have 3 kids that I'd pray to leave something on this earth for. That said, throughout the 9 years, it's been quite the struggle to keep up with the loan payments between the cost of living, interest rate increases, and developing a steady career. Currently, my land is in a whole lot of debt, and I've exhausted all of my options to try to get it cleared up with no positive pushback from the bank itself. From the bank itself, right. From the bank itself, or any other avenues, friends/family or politicians. I also haven't been fully working for the past few months, and I haven't been able to pay anything on the loan since April, and I doubt I'll be able to for this month or next. The loan is in debt right now. I'd like to say something close to 20 grand. And I'd like to see if I can post a GoFundMe or anything that would help right now. Property is hard to afford at all these days. And I'm terribly afraid that the bank will take it now, being that it is it's in so much debt. I'd hate to lose it for the sake of my children. And I also get statements from the bank about the amount so that people know. And I can also get statements from the bank about the amount so that people know that it's legit. I'm just seeking any kind of assistance at all that I can get at this point before the bank takes it. Any kind of guidance that you might have would be truly appreciated. I'm also going to reach out to Everything 345 to do the same. I'm a hardworking person, and I would not be reaching out if I were able to figure it out on my own right now. I've gotten deeper into a hole than I should have, but I got discouraged and I don't know what else to do. Thank you so much. So, very helpful. And so I want to dissect this. And of course, there are more questions that we would need to know about before we can actually really say, what's going on here. There's way more to this, I'm sure, right? But what do you guys think the solution is to this person's situation? So she's suggesting a GoFundMe page. Well, first of all, let me just say this. We here at CMR have a community page. So if she sets up a GoFundMe page, which in Cayman, we don't really have GoFundMe pages that you can set up here that can go into your bank account. So I don't really know how that's done. Most people, if you see them with a GoFundMe, it's like a family member overseas setting that up for them. And then that goes into overseas bank account. And as you can imagine, my brain is already like, okay. There's certain wiring around that I would be concerned about. Let me just put it that way, right? But it's possible for something like that. Give me 1 second. I just need to grab my monitor. I unplugged the monitor to see if that's going to help me today. But there are aspects of this that you could think if she had a ton of donations that maybe she could get out of this debt. But I have a question, but let's see what you guys think. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Auntie Sandy. How you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
Boy, right there, I just finished eating some cold food from last night.
Cold food?
Yeah, but I love it. Cold pizza, cold food. With food, I eat hot or cold.
Okay. I was gonna say, why is it cold?
Listen, I'm watching. I'm reading this message that this person sent me about this land, right?
Yeah.
And I have so many questions.
Yes, so do I. But yep.
How much do they currently own on the land in total?
Right.
What are their monthly payments?
Yes.
When they say about $20,000 in debt, do they mean that they're $20,000 behind on their payments, or that the remaining loan balance is around $20,000?
Yep. Lots of questions.
Has the bank sent you a formal default or foreclosure notice?
Right. Yep.
All right. Is the land worth more than what you owe on it?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything built on the property, or is it a vacant lot?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever considered selling the land before the bank takes action?
Mm-hmm.
They said right here, they haven't been working fully for the past couple of months. Are they currently unemployed, underemployed, or expecting to return to work soon?
Mm-hmm.
What caused you to fall behind?
Right.
Was it job loss, illness,
Mm-hmm.
family circumstances, rising interest rate, a combination of factors?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other significant debts beside this loan?
Yep. And how long have they been struggling? Because I get I get the feeling anyway, that this struggle has been the entire 9 years. And if that's the case, that makes a big difference. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we got to ask these questions, because if you're considering asking the public for help, you need to be as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if it's the case where you just fell through the cracks, I mean, you're just one of those rare people. People are more likely to support you if you clearly explain the situation. I'm not clear on this at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree that we definitely need more information. And that was the first thing that I was going to say. Like, I certainly would not be comfortable giving any sort. I mean, she's asked for advice, but I think her advice is centered more around advice of how to get help from people, right? But like I said, we can't really help her.
You can't force people. You can't force people to help you.
Well, not only that, but I mean, any sensible person before they give $1 should be asking a lot of questions, just like you have.
Mm.
So, yes, I think that there are lots of questions to be asked.
Well, about the crowdfunding now, I mean,
mm-hmm.
if people donated enough to bring, let's say she opens this GoFundMe, if people donated enough to bring the loan current, like, would she realistically be able to keep up with future payments?
Right.
How much money is she hoping to raise? And what's going to happen if the fundraiser doesn't reach its goal? What is your next plan?
Yeah. And there's nothing worse than throwing good money after bad.
Exactly.
You know, we even see her friend there in the Brack saying that she has a $4,000 utility bill, and she's asking for people to make donations. And listen, I'm saying anytime you can donate to anyone you want, but anytime you make a donation to someone for things like that, your ultimate question should be, how are you going to fix this problem long term? So August of last year, almost a year ago, that same Carrie was reaching out to people saying that she owed over $6,400 at that time on her utility bill. She's making this public, so we're not telling any state secrets here, right? And I was willing to make I was willing to make a donation. But when I looked at this and I said, hold on a second, I don't know who has I've never heard of anybody having a $6,400 utility bill that wasn't a business, right? Residential. I'm surprised that Island Energy is allowing customers to run up that kind of a bill. But my first question was, okay, if I sent through a donation, how does this significantly help you in any meaningful way? Because I ain't got $6,400 to pay off anybody's bill, okay? But even if I say, okay, here's a $500, how does that help you long-term? Like, what is the long-term sustainability plan on how you are going to pay this off and continue to pay it? Because that's a bill just like a loan that every single month that's coming due. You got to pay. And this is why the banks, I mean, I get it that they're in business and I sympathize sometimes with them. I mean, I know they nickel and dime us on every God's thing, right? But they're also a business that in order to help other clients, they rely on current people making their payments, right? So their loan capacity, if they have a portfolio of a lot of debt themselves where people are not making their payments, they can't help other Caymanians who are. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand how banking fundamentally works. And so I'm of the viewpoint that once you get one or two payments behind, depending on why, and whether or not you can quickly rectify the why, the chances of you being able to recover and put yourself back in good standing normally is impossible, because you've got the loan payment, the interest is included in that for probably the first 60% of the life of that facility. You're mostly paying interest, and the bank knows that. Your premium, your principal, my apologies, is not coming down that much. And so, you know, even if they say they can waive a month of the principal, they still need that interest, because that is the money that they're making on it. As you continue to become in arrears, it is hard for you to make that up and continue to pay payments from month to month. So I agree that there's a lot of questions here that definitely need to be answered.
But you see that part where it says, I've exhausted all of my options to try to get it cleared up with no positive pushback from the bank.
Yeah, what does she mean by positive pushback?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Sandra, because the thing is that for banks don't want to repossess land and then have to go and find and then sell it back and that kind of thing, because it's a whole lot of, you know?
Yeah.
So I find banks will work with you if you communicate with the bank.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, up to a certain point, mind you.
Yeah, because I mean, they realize there's only so much they can do.
Is this person staying in regular contact with the bank? I mean, at this point, aside from asking all these questions, I mean, you know, to make it clear that these questions aren't meant to pry, but they're meant to help us understand whether this is a temporary setback that could be come with some assistance, or whether there's a longer term financial challenge that requires a different situation. But whatever the situation, my biggest piece of advice is not to avoid the bank. Stay in regular contact with them, ask for everything in writing, and find out exactly where you stand. I think the earlier she knows her options, the more likely it is that she'll have choices available to her. But there's a lot to be. There I have a lot more questions, but anyway, I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much. 936-2626. Who else has a thought on this? I mean, that last caller, Alfred, I agree with him 100%. That's my sentiment as well. Is at this stage, it does seem like she has essentially admitted that she has struggled for the better half of the 9 years with this piece of land. And I get the sentiment of wanting to leave something for your children. Sometimes we're leaving children debt, believe it or not. But I also think that honestly, you've got to know when to fold them, you know? And if you have been struggling for 9 years, I don't know what loan she took out on the piece of land. I don't know if it's a 15-year mortgage. I don't think do they give 30-year and just raw land? Because again, at some point, the intention of the land perhaps would be to build a family home. Is she paying rent? That's another question that I have. Is she paying rent, and is she on time with her rent? And, you know, are there any options that, like, I just have a lot of questions. And ultimately, the question, again, it's not because we're trying to get in anybody's business or pry, but the real thing is, how do we come to a solution that can actually help you to be in a better position? And there are legitimately times when I think you have to recognize that there's no out for this current situation. So what you have to do is you just have to cut your losses and move on. Now, let me say this in terms of, you know, she said that she's going to reach out to Everything 345. Everything 345 is a slightly different platform than CMR. I mean, they're parts when there's like a gray area. So they're parts where what we do intersects with each other, but I actually see us as very different. So there are things that Everything 345 does that we don't really do, the things that we do that they don't really do, right? And I love the guys over at Everything 345, but they're more likely to post that than we are. It's not that we're not trying to help people, but literally, if we go down this rabbit hole, every single day, that would be all that we would post on CMR. And we have a license for media. as in writing media, different types of media. So there is that community element to our media. Yep, we're the ones who pretty much started that aspect of it. That's fine. But we cannot make a large amount. And we already do it with the lost and found. I mean, every day the lost and found takes over. You know, so many times we delete the post once the person is found, but that's a good portion of the service that we're delivering to the community. We have a community page, has a lot less followers, but I will put this on the community page and ask you guys, you know, if you want to help this woman out. But I think that honestly, anyone who is listening to this morning does have a lot of questions, and they are actually going to ask, you know, the same questions that I'm asking, that Alfred is asking. We need to know more about the real state of your finances, because without that additional information, nobody should really give a single dime, because you would give someone money if she's already 20 grand in debt, right? She gets this windfall of money. Say all of you donate and she finds the $20,000. The next payment is right around the corner. Where is that payment coming from? And that is that's what this comes down to, right? How are you going to get this under control? And you do have 3 children, and unfortunately, I don't really know, you know, what her situation is with the children, but I do know that are there fathers who are contributing to the care of the children? I guess if you don't have a husband, none of them is going to be contributing to your land necessarily, even if you say to them, well, this is for the future of your children. In 10 years, there's no guarantee what will happen to that land. So you'll find that a lot of partners and, well, baby daddies, because that's all they're doing is donating some sperm, they're not inclined to be helping you towards any long-term sustainable goals, right? And that's why I constantly say to especially young women, the power that you hold with your controlling your decisions in life is the power over your own body. Stop allowing men to, as Caymanians would say, breed you. Y'all know what I mean? Getting you pregnant. You're the one who has to have the responsibility then of having the child and raising the children. Because when I hear somebody say to me, they've got 3 children, I am old-fashioned in some respects, and in some respects I'm not. But this is one of those questions that when you got 3, if you got 1 and you're a single parent, I'm like, okay, ish happens. 2 and you're a single parent, I start to do this like my friend Pinky in the Brain. I start to do this. Okay. 2 children and no baby daddy in the picture. Boy, we might be making some poor decisions here. 3 and no kids, and I'm like, you got to explain this to me. 30 years old, 3 kids. I hear no mention of a father, no mention of a long-term partner that's helping out, because, you know, that's the thing with partnership. You lose your job, he got you. He lose his job, you got him until he can find another job, right? So this is the difficulty, is that's why the banks are even more favorable to people who are married and who are in long-term sustainable relationships, because that gives them 2 incomes, 2 source of incomes, 2 persons who are going to be signing on the dotted line. And that helps, because this person defaults, maybe this person can pay. Or, you know, a month you don't have a job. I mean, there's some indication here that she doesn't have a full employment at this time. Then yeah, there's questions around that. So there's just a lot of question. Barbara G says leasing the land could be an option. What does that mean? Leasing the land, leasing it to who when you technically don't own the land? The other problem I have with this, and I'll tell you, El Rey also says more information is needed, is when she says that she, and this is where Caymanians, you know, you got to be careful how you think, right? She says, okay, she bought a piece of land when she was 21. And, you know, she was proud of herself that that she was able to do that, because how many 21-year-olds are able to buy a piece of land? Okay. So for the past 9 years, she says it's been quite the struggle to keep up with the loan payments. Does that mean that it was a struggle at the beginning? How much did you pay for the land? What's the value of the land? Like, there's a lot of other details that would be helpful to know before we can really advise this person, I think, any further, right? But if you've been struggling the entire 9 years, you might want to consider what this next person has to say. And this next person says, sorry to say, but she needs to try to sell that land and pay off her loan and hopefully make a profit considering the increase in real estate value over the years. Interestingly, she included politicians in the people she asked for help. We need to stop being a community of thinking that begging will solve our issues. I've been in this predicament with my ex when my ex-husband stopped paying his half of the mortgage, but it never once crossed my mind to beg. I would have let the bank repo first, and thankfully I was able to get it sorted before that happened, but that's just me. So I agree with this individual that it is sometimes better for us if you're $20,000 in arrears with this loan. Now, I don't know how many loan payments that is. You see, we need more information. What are your monthly loan payments? Because to me, 20 grand, like I said, not knowing what she's paying per month, sounds like a lot of money. That sounds like at least a year or more of no payments. Because what do you think the average land payment is these days? Beach Bay 9 years ago, probably $800, $1,000. I mean, I don't know what land in Beach Bay was going for, right? So it would have taken a minute to get up to that point, in my opinion. Yeah, my keyboard stopped working this morning as well. It would have taken a minute, in my opinion, to get up to that point, right? So that's a substantial amount of arrears, right? But here's the thing. By the time you get to month 5 and 6, if the bank hasn't said to you that they're about to take it, you're very lucky to be $20,000 in arrears. And that's not just 2 payments. I don't know who she's banking with, but believe me, that bank has been tolerant with her, in my humble opinion. So what I would say to her is, I agree with this caller, or this listener to the program rather, is if you can sell the land, and again, the chances are your land has gone up in value. If you can sell it and make a little profit, you might make more than you think, because in 9 years, no doubt that land has gone up. If you sell it and you come out ahead $20,000, $30,000, you're in a much better position. If the bank takes it from you, what you're going to find happening is that you're going to have a situation that's called a forced sale. So a forced sale is where they're going to just throw that land up for anything. And normally they throw it up for what their arrears is, right? So what that means essentially is whatever you owe them is what they need to recover. So if you do not, is there a dongle? See if there's so if you don't actually, I don't need that cable. Yeah, I'm just gonna plug it in and see if it has enough juice. So if you don't actually sell it yourself and the bank takes it, the bank is less interested in your position as it relates to making a profit. They're not concerned about making a profit. They just want to get their money back. And so what that means is sometimes they will even sell your property at a commercial loss. And this is why some of you reached out before and you're like, oh, Sandy, these banks are no good because they took my land and my land is valued this and they only sold it for this. And I'm like, well, you think the bank is in the real estate business. They're not. They're not in the real estate business. Most banks do not enjoy having to take people's land and to sell it. They would rather not have to do that. And that's why I know that when y'all talking about, these banks wicked, they just want to take people's land. If you think that that's where banks make money, is by having you default on a mortgage and take your land, you're crazy. And it simply means that you don't even understand banking. Because they lose money when they have to engage lawyers to be writing you letters and getting on you about your loans, et cetera, et cetera. The reality of what happens is that they want to quickly get that off of their books. And getting it off of their books means that they will do whatever it takes to sell that as quickly as possible. Right? So, give me 1 second here, folks. I'm just trying to get my keyboard working. I'm having tech issues behind the scenes today. Yeah, so, you know, this is where it's at. This person says, if you're going to beg, you certainly can't beg and be anonymous. Well, it does appear to me that this is one of the interesting things now about social media. People do like to feel like they can go through entities such as CMR, such as Everything 345, and just anonymously be asking for help. Like, I don't even know how that would work, because when you set up the GoFundMe page, are people not going to then know who you are? I mean, let me be very clear. We have people who are very, very generous and who will give. But I can tell you is they're less likely to give to anyone who is remaining anonymous. You understand what I'm trying to say? They like to know. Like if they can see themselves like, okay, you know what? I know her. She has been trying. She has been working. She has been doing all this stuff. But I don't know. I find I struggle with these anonymous requests for donations as well. So I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about that. I don't know if that doesn't make a difference to you or what the situation might be. But for me, I think when people start to ask to remain anonymous or be anonymous and they're asking for the public's help, you know, I would rather know exactly what the story is. But normally in my, you know, at my age, I recognize that people are remaining anonymous because they know that we're going to ask the tough questions. Like, wait a minute, how did you get here? You know, the money situation is what? Oh, but I know you can't keep a job because of this, or you keep stealing, or you keep, you know, and so they don't want that level of accountability. That's normally why people want to remain anonymous. And I'm just telling y'all, this is the cold hard truth. And I'm giving you the cold hard facts, as that's why, right? They go, well, you know, yeah, boy, she be out every weekend or whatever. I'm not saying that about this young lady because I don't know anything about her. But I just do know and recognize that a lot of times this is what happens when you hear people talking about, you know, they want to remain anonymous. It's because they know, yes, people are going to judge you, but they're allowed to judge you when they are making a donation to your cause. Because they have a right to know how bona fide, you know, the real world, how your cost or your situation, how you've actually gotten here. And so I think that that is significant to understand. All right, so let's have a look then at some of your other questions. So Live Happy says if $20,000 of us gave $2, we could help her out. I'm ready to give the first $2. It would not, I would not want the person to lose the land. Can the person call in or write and explain in detail? Well, what I can tell you is getting 20,000 people to do anything, including donating $2, would be a miracle. So that sounds, that's the principle of compounding. And it sounds simple enough. And yeah, I guess. But the reality is the chances of that happening are slim to none. Not to bust your bubble, Live Happy, but you tell me any situation or anything in Cayman that 20,000 people can agree to. 20,000 people can't even agree who to vote for. Right now, you ask 20,000 Caymanians, you know, who are you going to vote for? Can 20,000 of us agree on who should be the leader of this country? You're not even going to get that kind of consensus, and that's not costing you anything. Well, not directly. You could even get 20,000 people to agree to that. So I don't know. I struggle to understand how we can truly help in a situation like this, other than to give the advice that maybe you just need to this one says LMAO at Live Happy. We can't even get 20,000 Caymanians to sign a petition for a good cause, and that is free. You know, I agree there. So I don't know, honey child. YouTuber says, morning, Sandra, aren't land loans usually for 10 years? This debt should be substantially paid down by now. Sell and take the profits to move your current situation and better prepared. I mean, I do not know, to be honest, what land loans, because I have never had a land loan just by itself. So I can't personally speak from any sort of experience on this. I simply do not know what the average land loan is. So, but if you say that that's the case, YouTuber, I mean, I wouldn't think it would be more than 10 or 15 years. But again, I can't really say because I just don't know. All right. Damien says, then when the loan was taken out, did she have 3 children? And is she a single parent now? So it kind of gives me, I mean, I feel the vibe that she is a single parent. She doesn't make any mention of having a partner in her life or anybody else. She said, you know, she's reached out to friends, family, politicians, and others to help with the loan. So that now is a difficulty, right? Because you have to admit that people are going to be asking you questions on how you even got where you are. And I know a lot of people feel a way about when people ask them this question. Like, and I get all the time, listen, sometimes I protect you guys from the realities of what's actually happening, but I really try not to because you need to know. So when you come and ask for money, assistance with kids or this or that, and you say, because I know people tell us about the situation with the children because they feel like that will get people to be more sympathetic. But the cold hard truth is, in this day and age, people are not as sympathetic to you as you think just because you have children. Because then they start to ask the question, why do you have so many children? So I've had people Auntie Sandy, I need help with diapers, my young kids. And then I have another one on the way. And they say that because they think, okay, because I'm pregnant, that will make people be like, oh my God, this poor baby, she needs to eat because she's pregnant. She needs proper nutrition. The first question when I tell people those details about your situation, they're just like, why is she pregnant again? She got 3 or 4 kids that she's struggling with. Why is she pregnant? And the fact that she would tell us that means that she thinks that this is going to make people sympathetic towards her plight. And it actually is working against you in this day and age. When you inform people that you have kids now, that does not help you. And that's sad because we never want kids to suffer. But people are thinking you've made bad decisions, not just about your piece of land and your finances, but about having children. Why do you continue to have children when you can't even afford a piece of land, much less children? And, it sounds harsh, believe me, but this is the reality of the questions that people are going to ask. And people have a right to ask questions. And when you put your business out there and you're asking for help, you can't just be saying, oh, you're doing this anonymously without people thinking a particular way and asking questions. It's a tough situation. Island Breeze says, if you can't afford to pay your land loan, you can't afford to build on it. Costs have gone up so much, sell it. And trust and believe me, for most Caymanians, I think the reason why they have land, especially if this is your first piece, is to eventually have a family home on it. And the cost of construction is wild. Y'all think the cost of purchasing is crazy? You need to try building a house. And you got the headache plus the construction costs on top of it. It's a lot of money. And then the chances that your contractor is going to get it wrong in any event. Damien says the land in Beach Bay should be valued more now with Mandarin Bay being built. She needs to try and sell the land and make a small profit. And I think that that's probably the best advice, and get ahead of the bank, because when the bank takes it, the bank is not selling the land with the hopes of you making a profit. They're selling the land to cover their own debt. And then once the bank takes it, you got your interest. You're going to continue for whatever period of time it takes for them to sell it. So if it takes 5 months, 6 months, a year, if it doesn't move quickly, those are going to be, because once the bank takes it, you're not going to be making payments at that point anyway. But all of that is still accruing. And then you've got legal fees and everything on top of it as well. So it is much harder once the house or the property goes into foreclosure with your financial institution than if you were to just sell it yourself, right? Anthony wants to know if the loan has been refinanced on for unnecessary nonsense like cars or travel. There's a lot of questions here. Waking Up, the Cayman Islands, says, I don't understand. $20,000 in arrears or $20,000 left to pay. From the way that it's worded, I believe it's $20,000 in arrears, but it would have been helpful for her to tell us how much is left on the loan, how much her monthly payments are. I mean, there's a lot of missing information for us to get a full picture. But I do believe, based on how she has said, what she has said, that it is one of those situations where she says, property, the loan is in debt right now. I'd like to say something close to 20 grand. So that doesn't sound like 20 grand left to pay. That's 20 grand in arrears. Morning, Miss Dean. Island Breeze says 3 kids by 30 is irresponsible when you don't have the means to support them and yourself. Do better. And unfortunately, again, this is exactly how, people are going to see the situation, because even your decision on having children demonstrates to persons, when you're asking them for help and you're asking them for money, your inability to make good decisions. Seriously. And I see one of the children, based on her profile picture, one of the children is quite young, looks like under 1, definitely under 2. So again, I would, in no world would I be 20 or 30 years old with 3 children and no husband. The husband doesn't guarantee, because they don't stay around either. They will leave and divorce you when they're ready. But legally, right, you are in a better position when you have signed on a piece of paper. I know y'all are like, oh, that's just a piece of paper. That don't matter. It does. Well, now you have the common law situation, but even that you have to formalize. So it does make a difference. And it also shows a level of commitment. When a guy is willing to say, all right, maybe he's not the best guy in the world, but he's still willing. He's like, okay, I'm willing to settle down and get married. I think that there's certainly something to be said for that. Now, speaking of begging, Mr. Amelia's in the comment begging for her seniors. Okay. She needs a seniors bus. And she's saying that if she can get y'all to help out, she said, I'm looking sponsorship for a seniors bus along with sponsorship once a month to feed my seniors. Wink, wink. We soon get back on the food situation. I've been really busy, Mr. Amelia. I know she's talking to me. She's taking a jab at me, honey child. She's like, you have not been feeding the seniors lately. And I committed to it and I will do it. But I've actually just been, you see that office renovation that I did? Oh my God, I've been busy. But I will do the feeding. I can't help you with no van, honey child. But I will definitely assist with the food. Risa says, I agree that additional questions should be asked. It's very possible she needs financial counseling as well to assist going forward. It would be amazing if we could help someone if they truly need it. So Risa, That's the biggest help that you can give someone. That's what I'm saying, right? Financial literacy. Big shout out to the Savannah. Wayne Panton has done a number of these courses where he pays for it, and people just have to show up. And I think the uptick has been good, but there's so many more people who should have gone to those financial literacy courses that really hasn't, because we get used to living hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. And unfortunately, that is a position that simply does not benefit you. And that, I do believe, is where she needs to get as much help as possible, the financial literacy part, and what she is going to do going forward with her life. Alfred says, I can't speak for any financial institutions, but credit union offers land loans for 10, 15 years, or 20 years. Thank you, Alfred. Let's run a marathon for her 2 month. Let's run a marathon for her 2 months payment. But 2 months can be $20,000. So you're going to run a marathon for what? For her 2 months payment, but she doesn't say that's 2 months. And in fact, she doesn't say how long she's gone without a payment. She does say something about since April. Okay, so she says she hasn't been able to pay anything on the loan since April. But I doubt that a land loan is in arrears for 20 grand since April. So that's May, June. So that's where you're getting the 2 months from. That's not 2 months. Something not adding up here, because $20,000 is not a 2 month land loan payment. That's not even a 2 month mortgage for most people. So something, I don't understand why she'd owe $20,000 since April. If that's about 2 months, even 3 months, that's a lot on a land loan. So something doesn't quite add up in terms of the figures. Lavana's asking where the fathers are at in this situation. Morning, Jackie. Strong Wilt says, Auntie, she should focus on paying off the land before having children. And, you know, these are the realities of what we need to do when we want, like when you say to yourself, I want to be able to leave something for my kids. This is my personal philosophy, and this is what I try to do with my own life, right? If I want to leave something for kids, that means that I need to have myself in shape financially before that can happen. You often cannot do that once you start having children, because they become your priority. And having children is not a cheap endeavor. Trust and believe, okay? So what is it then that you do? Once you start having the kids, it becomes difficult to find a solution for their future, right? So you want to leave something for kids, but the best thing you can do to prepare yourself to be in that position is not to have children until you are more financially secure, right? And you have a partner or someone else. You got to have a backup plan with children for more reasons than one. And that is where that partnership becomes relevant, right? Someone who can prove to you that they have staying power, that they're sustainable, and it's not always about the money. Like if you get sick, someone can take the kids off your hands and help you out with the children. All of those things really make a difference. So Marshall says, anyone in their right mind would want to ask questions once parting with their money as for who it's going to or what it's going to. If you can't afford to continue paying for the land, sell it and get what you can from it. So how many people this morning, by show of hands, would actually say that she needs to sell the land? So let's take a vote. Island Breeze says 20K is over a year. Can we call her on air to clarify? Well, obviously she wants to remain anonymous. So, her voice might actually give her away. So I would say that, she's probably not going to take a call. Okay. So show of hands or comment in the section. Yes or no? Let me see if I can put up, my keyboard isn't working, so I can't even type. But how many of you believe that she should sell the land? This person says the best thing she can do for her children is to seek financial literacy and ensure that her children get a good education and also get financial literacy. Yes. I think that the other thing is, like I said, what she might be doing is she might actually just be passing on debt to her children, which is something that you definitely do not want to do, right? And it's very, very possible that that's exactly what's happening. Because you have to think about, what if something happened to her tomorrow? Like I said, the bank is going to take the land anyway. But if she has this land and she does not have the ability to service the loan, then her children could be in a much worse situation for it as well. So that's something I think that she needs to consider. All right, Miss Amelia says sell. Damien says sell it. Real estate is booming. Look at all the construction going on. Waking Up says no, please don't sell the land. Well, Waking Up, if she doesn't sell the land and the bank takes it, how does that benefit her? Well, what is it? If you tell her not to sell the land, that means that you've got another solution for her that is going to work. So what is the solution for her this morning? Don't sell it and do what? I'm not an advocate of selling land if you don't have to, but I think she's now at the stage where she doesn't have a choice. Okay. I'm willing to hear your arguments. Don't sell it, but do what instead? Irvin says that's more like what's left to pay off the land. I don't think that that's what that is. Like I said, we got a lot of questions. But she said she's 20,000 in debt. When I read that, I must tell you that even the way that is worded, because to me, 20,000 in debt, no, you're probably in debt more than the 20,000. But again, she didn't really provide sufficient information. Alfred says, well, if she wants to remain anonymous, I don't know what kind of help she can expect. Gigi, good morning, says the best heritage for the children will be debt-free. Emma says, good morning, happy Wednesday. Thank you, Emma. Damien says, Miss Sandra, if she decides to sell, put an ad up for her. Again, depending on how much she's selling it for, I'm sure. I think land is a premium these days, so she may not have any issues actually selling it. But again, the worst thing she can do right now is not communicate with the bank, because it's only a matter of time before they are going to take it. This inability to type this morning is really cramping my style. All right, let's take a quick commercial break. Let me see if I can't get my keyboard working, because I don't know what's going on. We'll be right back after these messages.
If you're a parent right now, you already know the cost of living has gone up. Rent, childcare, groceries. When the cost of living rises, government must rise to meet it. And we have. Under the revised ECAP policy, our Early Childhood Assistance Program, we've increased funding to keep pace with what families are actually paying today for their children's early education. Who benefits? A father working every hour he can. A single mother doing it alone. A grandparent raising grandchildren they love. Maybe that's you. Up to 235 Caymanian children will benefit directly. And I want every single one of them to have the start they deserve. That is why we are here. If you've applied before and been disappointed, I encourage you to try again. If you've never applied because you assumed you wouldn't qualify, now is the time to find out. And if the funding didn't feel like enough before, it should now. Is your child 3 years old and Caymanian? You may qualify. Visit us at moeapplications.gov.ky and apply for the 2026-2027 academic year.
All right. Good morning. Welcome back. How can people help her? Oh, sorry, I read that one already. Damien says, get some money to get the land valued and then sell it. I think a land valuation these days is around $500. Sell 2933 says, it can take a long time to actually find a buyer, closing, etc. She sounds desperate and out of time. This might not be a viable solution before the bank takes it over. I mean, there is that. Thank you so much for pointing that out, because I do think that you make a good point, which is it may already be too late, but this is what happens when you decide to wait. Because once you wait and you're at this desperate stage, so it looks like this is the 11th hour, yes? She has no other options available to her. And so that means I would be, like I said, I'm surprised that the bank has not already reached out to her. I find that, thank the Lord, keyboard finally working, honey Chan. I'm surprised that the bank has not reached out to her, because I don't know. I'm thinking if they have, I don't know. She does say, and this is again where it's a bit unusual. She says that the bank, what did she say about the bank? That they were not, all of my options to get it cleared up with no positive pushback from the bank itself. What does she mean by positive pushback? Normally pushback implies it's negative. I mean, you don't say positive pushback. Pushback is normally like a negative thing, but anyway, I'm not quite understanding this terminology, right? So she's saying that, what does she expect the bank to do? You see, this is a problem with banks, right? It's not a problem with the bank. This is a problem with y'all not understanding how banks work. If you're in arrears, what do you expect the bank to do? They're not going to refinance bad debt, because if you can't pay what you're paying now, when they go to their credit risk committee, the credit risk committee is going to be like, they can't service the loan now. So I don't know what we expect for from banking institutions. Marshall says, sounds like we need to set up a GoFundMe for Sandy's keyboard and monitor, right? No. Honey child, don't even bother. Mahali says, sell it and put the money in an investment account. Put what you can into monthly, and her kids can have that whenever she passes. But she is young. I mean, she's only 30. She's got another 20 years, 30, yeah, of childbearing possibilities as well, right? 20 years of making potentially better decisions or worse decisions when it comes to your finances. Let's ask her if she can take a call, because the more we can understand, I think the better off we might be. These kids, okay, Wake Up must be gonna pay off her loan, and it seems like she's using the word debt incorrectly. I think she means arrears instead of debt. Once again, I think she used the wrong word, pushback, and should have said feedback, I think. Oh, maybe, I don't know. Someone says, I tell you to use the voice disguise button. We can't, that's not how, we don't have a voice disguise button for calls. It's something that there's just not a solution for, because of how the phone is connected to the board, and there's no way to disguise your voice. Okay. Let me just see. Anybody else has a solution for her? I'd love to hear it. Anybody else thinks that she should keep it? I know. Yes, Miss Dean, keyboard is operational. Gigi says, let's say if we help her to raise the cash, how can she pay the bank after this episode? That was my first question. It is way too hard now for her to keep track, because everything is super expensive. And 1 year from now, it will be episode number 2 So the best thing to do is to sell the land, and whatever money she gets left over, she can use that wisely. Real Deal says pregnancy is 9 months. $20,000 in arrears took more than 9 months to accumulate. Didn't she think that getting pregnant was counterintuitive to the situation? Personal accountability is seriously lacking. In this situation, can she not lease the land? I asked the question, somebody else said this. What do you mean by lease the land? How do you lease land? Lease land to do what? I didn't know that this is, and I'm asking a genuine question here. I'm not trying to be facetious, but is there options for people to lease land to do what with it? Like, I don't understand how you lease land. To farm? Like, what are people leasing land for? You can't lease land for somebody to build on it, because remember, she doesn't own the land. This is the other thing, right? Until you make that final payment to the bank and your property is out of the bank and you see them remove their interest on the land registry, you do not own that asset. Too many Caymanians like, oh yeah, I got my house, and I'm like, that's not your house. This isn't my house yet. It will be very, very soon, but it is not my house yet, right? So I can't say that something belongs to me when there's even one single dollar owed to the bank and they have not removed their interest off of the land registry. So you can't lease something that you actually don't own. So that is a contractual issue. Because, how do you lease something you don't own? That's when you start to commit fraud. So I don't know what you guys mean by leasing. Like, I don't understand the concept of leasing land that you don't own, but if you can help me out, like, people are leasing land to do what? How do you lease land? To do what on it? You can't build on it. So I'm gonna give you money on a land that you don't even own. And the problem with that is even if it was possible, say farming, because that's the only thing I could think of that you'd be leasing land for, potentially. Because like I said, you can't build a permanent structure on land that you definitely don't own. And I think, right, even if you did the farming and you're paying monthly for the access to the land, there's no guarantees that that person is actually paying that money to the bank. So you run the risk of leasing land because she doesn't own it, that then falls into problems with the bank. And one day the bank shows up and takes it, and the leasee is going to do what? So I don't know that leasing land makes any logical sense. Shaka says that'd be awesome satire to hear a sweet Cayman accent and a voice changer. El Rey say, for me, the first option would be trying to help her keep the land. Okay, I hear you, El Rey, but how do we do that? Would you be comfortable handing her $20,000 to get out of arrears, not knowing what the plan is going forward? I mean, I don't know. Money is too hard to come by these days to give it to people without a viable situation that you can guarantee even that she's going to be making the payments directly to the bank. I mean, I would be, someone says morning, you can only lease, you can lease only if you own it. That's what I thought contractually, right? Child, that law degree comes in handy. So yeah, you can't lease something you don't own. But even if there was some kind of arrangement, there's too many unpredictable things that could happen there that you'd be taking a humongous risk as the person leasing it. There's people or contractor looking to place a trailer full of material, for example. A trailer full of material? Really? That's in demand? Child, your material and your trailer would go missing. Because again, if you don't own it, like, how are you securing that? You have security there watching your trailer? I don't know. Damien's asking about the zoning for the land. It has to be commercial. Well, it has to be agricultural, I guess, for farming, but Anthony says that's beach bay land, that's residential. Why people talking about leasing, even if agriculture, the small stripping? or stipping. What is that word? The small something wouldn't be practical, especially Beach Bay, nothing but rock. Barbara says someone may have boats or trailers that they need parking for. Oh, y'all pay for land to do that? Okay, I mean, I didn't know that there's a market for that. Like I said, I don't know much about people wanting to lease land, but that's interesting. But how can she lease land in Beach Bay? The area is zoned residential. Well, she can't lease it in any event because she just doesn't own the land, but that's, you know. El Rey says, no, not without knowing the whole story. Did the woman say whether she can take a call? She hasn't replied. Sherry says, you can get a house or piece of land. You have to be smart. When you get a house or piece of land, you have to be smart. After a while, add on, and that can help pay for something in the month. Just saying. Get a house or piece of land. Be smart. After a while, add on. So add on, like you mean start to build a house? Well, presumably, if she can't make the land payment, she can't build a house either. Sal was asking about the size of the land. I mean, she hasn't provided a whole lot of information, so we wouldn't know that. Are you certain that subletting property is a problem just because an institution has a legal interest in the property? I'm pretty sure, as a matter of law, you cannot lease anything that you do not own. Unless, let me put this caveat out there, unless the true owner of it agrees to do so. So let's logically think about this. If I am renting a house or commercial space, I can sublet that if my lease allows me to do so, because I am not the owner of the property. So if I have a lease or a contract that allows me to sublet, then I can do that. So let's transfer that same logic across to, my apologies, my sinuses again today. Let's transfer that same logic across, right? If the bank is the owner of the property, they, I suppose in theory, could give permission. And I'm willing to bet, and I don't know this for a fact because like I said, I've actually never taken out a bank loan on a piece of land. So I do not know this, but I'm willing to bet that in her offer letter that she signed with the bank, there are clauses in there that prohibit her from doing this very same thing. She can't allow anyone to build on it without the bank's permission, to change it, whatever, not when it is a land loan. Correct me if I'm wrong. Those of you who've had land loans, like I said, I don't have a land loan. I've never had a land loan, so I don't know this to be the case. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. If I were a bank, I would certainly need to give express permission before anyone can do anything with that land. And if that is the case, because she's now in arrears, there is no one who is going to step in and allow her to now do that. The bank is not, she's already 20 grand in arrears, right? So the bank is not going to be like, oh yes, let's allow you to do something else with the property that makes it more difficult for us when we have to come and take it. I don't see that happening. Who is the property registered to in this instance? Presumably the bank, because she has a loan. So let's see if we can, let me see if we can, this person says, yep, the bank would have to agree and the payments would automatically go directly to the bank to offset their loan. That's true, because do you know that even if you get a loan for commercial space, right? A loan for like rental property, an office space or whatever that you purchase, the bank actually has you assign the leases to them contractually. Y'all need to read your fine print with these banks, honey child. I've been reading a lot of fine print lately with the banks, and some banks actually now have clauses in there where you need to give them permission. No, not give them permission. You need to ask their permission if you even want to make extra payments on your loan. You know how I keep telling you guys to make extra payments on your loan, to pay it off quicker, et cetera, et cetera? Well, apparently these banks are getting wise to the fact that that is even a thing. And they're now saying that you need, and I'm not going to tell y'all which bank is doing this because I'm not happy about it, but I'm not getting into any details. They're now saying that If you want to make any extra payments, you have to ask their permission. I can read you all the clause directly. And then the next bit says, if permission is granted for you to make extra payments, then they penalize you anyway. Now you expect to pay to, and I should have told you guys this when I've mentioned this numerous times. If you make extra payments on your loan, yes, the bank is going to charge you a little something extra because they're losing interest. So they charge you like a penalty fee for making extra payments. But believe me when I tell you, it is worth it. But now the clause is, if we agree for you to make extra payments. I'm thinking y'all have lost your damn mind. Say what? I have to get your permission to make extra payments? And that if, again, from a legal perspective, that means that you can say no. The bank can say no. If they're saying if, first you got to ask, and if permission is granted. I'm like, really? If permission is granted? That's right, Damien. They want to lock you in and they want to make interest for the entire life of that loan, whether it benefits you or not. Read your offer letters before you sign them. All right, this person says if you assist the person out, they will never learn. It is irresponsible to be in that amount of debt, and she must be aware that at this stage, she must sell and reduce the debt and with profit invest or save. She cannot remain anonymous and expect help, as we have a lot of questions that needs to be answered. At this stage, I won't give even a penny. Wow. And I appreciate the honesty, because even those of you who are sitting here saying, let her, what are you saying? Let her keep it. Even those of you who are saying that, the irony of that is that I know for a fact that 99.999999% of you will not be giving a single dime. It strikes me as incredibly interesting when people actually get in the comment sections. We see this all the time. People are asking for help, and you guys are very, very sympathetic towards their plight. Oh my God, this person needs money. This person, And what do? Nothing. You just talk about it. Oh, it's so horrible that, you owe this money. Oh man, the cost of living came out is so rough, and we have Put your mouth where your pen is or your keyboard fingers are and actually help the person. You're not doing it. Seriously. How can 50 people get in the comment section when everything 345 makes a post like this about how horrible this is, and oh man, these politicians and the cost of living and blah, blah, blah. And then you don't even donate. Yeah. Talk is cheap, as they say, quite literally. Ms. Dean says, I believe paying extra might be a breach. It's a contract. It's not a breach, but the banks over the time have changed the terms and conditions of their loans. And if it's a high value loan, they expect you to pay, because the average loan, you'll pay at least 1.5 to 2 times more in interest than what what you actually borrowed. Understand me. This is how banks make money, and I understand that. But if you want to reduce the life of your loan for your own benefit, you need to make extra payments. So it's not about it being a breach. In traditional banking relationships, you're able to make extra payments if you wish to do so. What they do is they charge you then a smaller amount on the extra payment that you're making. And I can't believe, like I said, some years ago, I did this because I was on a mission to actually pay off my house. And CNB did tell me the formula they use. And, I didn't really care about that. I said, yes, fine, I get it. I understand that you have to do what you have to do. So take the extra. I can't really remember. It's been a while now, been a couple of years, but they do that. And here's the thing, right? I was making the regular loan payment and extra on top of it. But I'm going to tell you something. It is worth the penalty, Because even with the little penalty that they were charging, when you saw what was coming down in your interest payments, it's a huge difference. Make the extra payments, but you got to read what the bank gives you before you sign it. Everybody is very, very excited when you're getting a loan. You're happy to get the house, the land, whatever. But if you don't read the fine print, it will be to your detriment. Strong Will says, Auntie, she is so, it is so sad that she's young and has such bad credit. And here's the other thing. In her mind, she's like, I want to be able to give my kids something, right? But you've already got bad debt and a bad reputation with at least one financial institution. No other bank is going to be loaning you money now based on that situation. So it becomes progressively worse unless you quickly get out of it. And then it's going to take you years to recover. Because you know what happens when you default on something? The time that it takes you to get put back into that situation is significant. So she defaults and she's going to now have to, spend the better half of another 10 years trying to fix her financial record here in Cayman before any bank would ever touch her again. Amelia says, I think it's really cheeky for someone to be asking for help and want to remain anonymous. Again, I find that happens simply because people are not willing to take the questions that are going to come as a result of their asking for help, right? Let me just see here now. So Damien says you sign it if you agree to it. That's right. Even sweet mouth Ricardo, who was trying to scam that Indian man out of his money for his car, got some sympathy in CMR. Remember, Sandra? Who was Ricardo again? I can't remember. The Jamaican guy who had like the $400 payment or whatever and didn't pay it, but wanted us to believe he had paid it. Barbara says there's actually no way to know if the situation is actually true. Well, that too. I mean, Barbara, if you want to be cynical, definitely. The truth of the matter is we don't know. And there's no way to verify any of this. Although I think she says she can. Did she say she could give us evidence? I don't know. But at some point, who would put money in her hand knowing how poor she's been with money? There's that too, right? If I were inclined to help her, I am certainly not going to donate to a GoFundMe account, which is going in GoFundMe situation, which is going into somebody else's account. I would have to make that payment directly to the bank. So, yeah, because how do you give someone money who's poor with money? You're asking for even more trouble. Yes, Ms. Dean, it was worth the penalty. Here's another situation. Let's give you another example. So this was Carrie, and this shows you again how normally when people are in a financial situation, the chances of them coming out of it are slim to none. So last year, August, Carrie was begging, almost a year now, she was begging for help with her utility bill. At that time, she said her island energy bill, this is not CUC, Island Energies in Kimmerbach, is over $6,400. Do not ask me how anybody gets a $6,400 pass from a utility company. Because the utility companies, they have to think like the banks. Once you're 2 months in arrears, they got to think we're going to have to shut that power off because how are you going to pay this? So she gave her information. She did say you can pay directly for the cat sanctuary. Lord have mercy. So she's claiming that, because she's helping the cats, I guess, her bill runs up to $6,400. This does not make any sense. The inconsistency in people's stories makes it less likely that they will actually get any help. So now, if you look at what Carrie is currently saying about her situation, she claims that now she owes over $4,000. She claims that Island Energy has shut off her electricity and that, she can't pay it, yada, yada, yada. And her position is because her no good husband left her. Well, I can't really agree with that or believe that story, because how is it that your husband left you and that's the reason why you can't pay your current bill? It's still $2,000 less than it was a year ago, right? But he just left the other day. So if the reason why you are in this predicament because your husband left you and is refusing to now contribute to the bills, what was happening in August of last year when he hadn't left you? You see what I'm saying? Like, when people ask for money and they're begging the community for money, they are very, very inconsistent with the reasons why and the stories that they tell. And when people press them for more information and more details, all of a sudden you then start to hear a slipping, oh, this and that, and no, this is what happened, and government owes me money until the Cayman Islands government pays me. I can't pay money that I've taken from other people. And it just doesn't make any sense. So 73 people liked her post where she was crying and saying, okay, Island Energy has cut her power, right? And now she claims that she's getting death threats to try to gain your sympathy, like having electricity is going to help you, if that was really the case. In any event, I did see that quite a few people started to press her, including Marquette Rocket. She was asking her, like, why are you in this situation? Like, how, she's trying to understand. Someone made a suggestion. Oh, well, can't you get a generator? How do you get a generator? And because, when you get a generator, you got to pay for the gas practically every single day to fill that up, because they're not that big, right? Unless you get the proper generators, but that's cost a lot of money. So how do you get a generator and pay every single day for gas if you can't afford to pay your bill? Now I want to show y'all a comment here, because this is nonsensical, but it just shows you how people think. And none of these people engaging with her, I'm willing to bet, she said Mr. DaCosta, MP and minister for Kim and Brat, gave her $500. So here's Stacy claiming that it's suspicious that all of a sudden now she is, they've shut her off after our post. Well, that's funny. You think it's suspicious that you've owed, let's back it up here, thousands of dollars, at one point over $6,400 for almost a year, and you would think it's suspicious during any time that you actually got shut off? That's crazy. I don't know who this Stacy Rhodes person is, but she does not strike me as someone with a whole lot of common sense. It's suspicious because they finally shut you off after owing over $4,000 for how long? What is wrong with you people? These companies, these institutions, whether it's the bank or CUC or Island Energy or whoever, they are running a business. This is not a charitable organization. So at some point, if they shut you off because you continue to owe them thousands of dollars and use, by the way, their electricity and not even paying for it, what do you think is logically going to happen? So, of course, Carrie would say my thoughts as well, because, yeah, anything to not take any responsibility, right? So then Stacey, Carrie, my apologies, goes on to say, she claims that every month she's paying on it. Not as if I didn't. It's okay. I'm blacklisted in this country, of course. Blame everybody else. No, these people refuse to take accountability. Then she says, this bill would never be this high if my husband hadn't been a wasteful person and ran it up and then left. But that was another way for him to get back at me. I'm confused by this comment, because the only person that has been employed in that household that has had any sustainable income has actually been that same husband. And so you must sit there all day using the internet, online, streaming and doing the most, not bringing in any income, and yet your husband is expected to pay the bill? Who's actually running it up? If you have one spouse who's out at work at least 8 hours for the day, working and bringing in income, and you're sitting down all day doing nothing, who do you think is actually running up the bill? I think this man just got tired of the nonsense. Oh gosh, my sinuses. Strong Milk says Carrie sounds crooked. She needs to get rid of those stupid cats if she can't afford to maintain herself. Much more cats, much less the cats. Yeah, exactly. Sal says, instead of a GoFundMe charity, what if the person or people would be willing to purchase a share in her property, similar to a business partnership, difficult to flush out with no details? Once again, you can't do that if somebody else owns it. So this is the problem, right? She doesn't actually own the land. So somebody said, but wait a minute, didn't Carrie say she was kicking him out? Child, please. Child, please. Now she claims that she bad. Now her story never matches, because when you don't tell the truth, only God can help you. All right. Let me see if I can reach this young lady. Like I said, she claims she wanted to remain anonymous, so she may not be willing to take a call, but we do have a lot of questions. So let's see if we can get any of her questions answered. Oops. Let's see if we can get any of her questions answered. I don't know if this is a hard.
The number you dialed is temporarily out of service. If you feel that you have reached this recording in error, please.
Okay. So the number is out of service. When it says phone number from the United States, but it's a Cayman number, what does that mean? I don't normally see that, right? Like it doesn't. That's weird. How can it should be a Cayman number, but up at the top it says that the phone number is from phone number from the United States. That's strange. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Does that always come up at the top? I don't know, because most people who message me have messaged me before, so I don't see that very top thing with their contact. But that's what hers says, which is kind of weird. I don't know. That's a bit strange. Okay. Oh, well, her phone's off. Oh, I think that just says that. Yeah, I see another person message me here. Yeah, I guess that says that for all Cayman numbers, which is weird because that's not a US number. Okay. I found a guy who messaged me yesterday and it says the same thing. All right, so her phone doesn't work. Not direct dial. So I am wondering then I can't do a WhatsApp call from that number. Girl, you're possibly being pranked. Leave this fight alone and let everything 345 deal with this. I know everything 345 to be posting anything, to be begging for everybody. She could get a propane generator, which has to be 5,000 watts, and that could cost $1,700, not including installation. I mean, and then you install it, and then you got to pay for it every month. Even propane, you got to pay for. You're not done it for either. Poor Carrie, she's always the victim. Blame, 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 says Damien. Trust me, it's unreal. Here's my thought. Selling the land, she'd have to be responsible and invest a portion so as to finance life's expenses onwards, not to shift lifestyle. Can't do the usual to get different results. All right, let's talk about the cost of why you go to the grocery store. Anybody on Instagram weighing in on this? Let me see. Let me just check IG. IG just watching. They always be pretty quiet over there. Okay, I don't see anybody really on Instagram weighing in, but the cost of everything has gone up. Let's have a listen as to why that is. Listen to this.
Is supported by Instagram.
Instagram teen accounts, automatic protections for teens. Instagram teen accounts have built-in content settings and limits for who can contact teens. Plus, teens under 16 can't change these default safety settings without parental approval. So parents can help teens connect safely. Instagram teen accounts, automatic protections for who can contact teens and the content they can see. Learn more at instagram.com/teen accounts.
you know your party's extension, you may dial it now. To speak to someone in customer service, press 12. Bakery, 13. Deli or hot foods, 14. Meat or seafood, 15.
From the New York Times, I'm Natalie Kitroeff. This is The Daily.
Who's Market can help you?
For a while now, my colleague, daily producer Jessica Chung, has been reporting on, or trying to report on, grocery prices.
Had a moment right now to talk about the kind of nature of shopping right now and why everything is so expensive.
That you would have to contact our corporate office for any information like that.
It started after COVID, when inflation and supply shortages sent prices soaring. Then came Ukraine, tariffs, and now the Strait of Hormuz, which has pushed prices even higher.
Are you concerned, Mr. President, about the latest inflation number, which...
No, I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation. You know what?
So she's been calling stores to talk about that, trying to find a grocery store manager who could talk about how they and the people who shop in their store are dealing with round after round of rising food prices and how high those prices could possibly go.
And who would you recommend that I talk to at the corporate level?
Brad. Talk to Brad.
I was told that this is a number for Brad.
He's in a meeting in the moment. I could take a message, and when he gets out, he could, call you back.
Okay.
But a lot of the grocery stores she'd reached out to never got back to her. And the big grocery chains referred her to people far removed from the shelves. And it seemed like their job was to not answer her questions.
I would love to, but unfortunately, I'm not allowed to. I'm not really allowed to say anything.
You should be able to just email media@wholefoods.com.
You can always call 1-800-Kroger's.
Your call is being transferred.
But then...
Hello?
She reached a small store, and this one manager picked up the phone.
I wonder if you'd be open to a conversation about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to.
Today, we go to his grocery store in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to finally get some answers. It's Monday, July 13th.
In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in a part of town called East End, sits the aptly named East End Food Co-op. It's tucked away in a street without a lot of foot traffic. Its storefront is lined with grocery carts. There's a display of leafy potted herbs and organic seedless watermelons going for $18.99. Like most food cooperatives, there is no CEO. There are no shareholders. It's owned by the very people who shop there, 17,000 members. Though anyone off the street can buy their groceries here.
No, we're not getting that. Put that back, please.
On a Monday morning in the middle of June, I walked into the produce section.
I'm talking to shoppers about grocery prices.
Okay, go ahead.
It was not hard to get people to talk about prices and how high they are.
You notice grocery prices go up?
Oh, most definitely.
To the extreme.
Oh, indeed. It's meteoric in a way. Nasty.
It's so kind of sad walking into the store sometimes.
I've heard from everybody in my family that they're going up. And when I bring stuff home, it's like, this is outrageous.
It's not just at this co-op. It's everywhere. Prices are soaring at unusually high rates. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, since 2020, grocery prices have climbed by nearly 30%, at a rate way faster than before the pandemic.
This lettuce is $4. Mm-hmm. That seems like a lot. I would have expected like $2.99.
Today, the price of watermelons is $18.99.
I saw that out front. I was surprised that was the advertised thing.
I thought that was like a misprint. I just was shocked.
Red peppers. Red peppers.
Oh my God. They're like almost $10 this morning.
$10 for one?
Yeah.
Per pound.
So one.
Okay, we're weighing it on the scale. It's almost a pound. So this is almost $10 for one red pepper.
Just a few weeks ago, it was like 7 or 8. And over the winter, it was 6. And it just keeps going up.
Is there one item where you've seen prices go up and your jaw just drop?
Yes, steak.
Steak.
Beef.
Beef.
Used to be like you can get 2 nice steaks for about $20, $25. It's like $45 and up now.
And is that
New York
deterring you?
strip, T-bones,
all kinds of steak.
all kind, yeah.
So I've been seeing the family size bag. I think it's like $7 or $8 now. Mm-hmm. It's not a family size, not at all.
It's shrunk and the price has gone up.
Yep.
I don't like to think about it because it's scary.
Yeah.
So I don't think about it, so I don't pay that much attention, but I'm trying to buy less.
Yeah, and then I don't really do a good job of calculating how much I'm spending.
Now, is that like a psychological defense mechanism, or is that
a little bit?
I take this shopping so I don't. This is my worry pepper.
Oh, this is kind of a stress ball in the form of a green
It is,
pepper.
yeah.
Have you noticed the rise in prices change your habits at all?
Like I'll get less cheese, I'll get less meat, I'll get less chocolate.
Designer ice cream, that's long gone.
What's the designer ice cream you like?
Oh, well, the Haagen-Dazs, that kind of stuff.
Like the Brambleberry Crisp.
I don't see ice cream.
Exactly.
We don't need it. And see, what we can carry is what we're buying.
Oh, no more baskets.
No more baskets.
What's your understanding of why this is happening?
My understanding of why is that, it's such a big question that my mind is sort of shutting down in this moment.
Do shit to make us pay more. I don't know why stuff is so expensive. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I haven't done the research, I guess, onto the details of the why.
You know, I don't know exactly how, but I just know it is.
I don't super follow the news. I can't really say why it's happening.
When you see all these prices go up, does it raise any questions for you?
Yeah, I always think like, what is this going to look like in 5 years, 10 years? How this will affect our children?
As shoppers, we know that a lot of factors go into the prices we see. But how many of us can name them?
Hey, Tyler.
Yeah, Jess, nice to meet you.
How's it going?
Good, yeah. So far, so good. Just, you know, Monday morning.
That's what I came here to talk to Tyler Culp about. For nearly 12 years, he's been at East End Food Co-op, most recently as general manager. And he's that one guy who picked up the phone.
Growing season's impacted by climate change.
Climate change.
You know,
Tyler's 44 years old. And like a lot of people in this part of town, he's got tattoos and is a food lover. In fact, he's got a newsletter, Garlic and Roses.
All of those factors, and then...
He says yes, rising prices are driven by a bunch of factors. It's rising temperatures, it's supply chain issues.
Because of the stuff in Iran, oil and fertilizer being trapped in the strait.
But the latest reason for why prices have accelerated so much is the war in Iran. At the time we talked, the U.S. and Iran had reached an agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. But it was unclear what open meant, how freely traffic would flow through the strait. Since then, the U.S. and Iran have resumed fighting, even as they engage in peace talks. So the price of oil continues to yo-yo up and down. And even if the price of oil manages to stay down, Tyler says shoppers won't be feeling a sense of relief anytime soon. But before I had him explain all of that...
Maybe starting from an earlier age, like how did you know you wanted to go into the grocery store business?
I asked him how he became an expert on this.
My grandparents owned a Baskin-Robbins. I can remember waiting on customers, scooping ice cream, making change.
He grew up just a few hours east of here, as a literal kid in an ice cream store.
I would have to put my whole body on the rim of the case so I could balance, scoop ice cream, and I loved it. It was so much fun, and I loved it.
He liked talking to customers, studying what flavors people liked and in what seasons. And then he grew to develop an interest in a pretty esoteric topic, supply chains.
I'm fascinated by the food supply chain and logistics of getting the strawberries from Mexico or California to Pennsylvania in January or February. It's tedious and unique, but I found it fascinating, so I paid attention.
To be a grocery store manager, managing the margins of thousands of products on the shelves, is to be a statistician, a haggler, and also a culture anthropologist.
People are more inclined to buy an item if there's 3 or 5 displayed in a line.
Like many other grocery store managers, Tyler's job is to drive sales. To do that, he's a hand in designing the whole experience that shoppers have, down to all the little details.
There's lots of studies and everything always say if you get berries in people's baskets, they buy more of other things as well.
Interesting. Okay, so now I wonder if you might be able to take me around the store.
Yeah, absolutely.
And give me a little tour.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Hey, how are you, Nicholas?
I'm
Good to see you.
great. Thanks. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
There are ways East End feels different than most other grocery stores, like the way it hits you when you first walk in.
I love the bulk herb section because I feel like it gives every co-op a unique smell. This smell is so nice.
I feel like the dominant smell right now is like turmeric,
absolutely.
maybe?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, depending on where we go, we walk into Whole Foods, it smells like their seafood department.
Yes.
That dominates everything. And
In addition to bulk herbs are bulk nuts, grains, and oats. There's kombucha on tap.
Keystone Cultures is a local kombuchery.
There's Dr. Bronner's soap, available in a buffet of these big pump bottles.
Oh, it's on draft.
Yep. These are freshly ground peanut butter and almond butter, coffee, olive oil. We have, that's bulk sugar. We get these in 50-pound bags. And yeah, you got all your normal grocery store items, pasta. If you want boxed macaroni and cheese, we have it. It's just that it's going to meet our product standards and not have dyes or other chemical additives, preservatives that aren't up to co-op snuff.
So shopping at the co-op is a bit different than other places nearby. It's healthier, maybe a little hippier, but that's not to say it's yuppier. You may have to pay a little bit more for the quality stuff, but I met all kinds of people shopping here. A home health aide, a barber, a couple of people on SNAP benefits. But it turns out it's maybe the most ideal place to look at rising food prices. Because unlike bigger chains like Kroger, which admitted to raising prices on certain items beyond the rate of inflation in 2024, the co-op model, which is owned by the very people who shop there, means they are more motivated to keep prices low than they are to turn a profit. And without the scale or storage capacity of a big box store, they can't negotiate buying at higher volumes. So the prices at the co-op can actually be the most transparent prices. And they give us a good look into how the war in Iran caused prices to surge.
Last week, there was an inflation report that showed that inflation was up by like 4.2%. And you got an email.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Tyler brings his laptop over, and on the sales floor, next to the prepared food section, he shows me an email forecasting price increases for July.
This was the national co-op warning that there is a higher number of cost and price suggestion changes than normal in a month.
The U.S. had released its latest inflation report, showing the highest rate of inflation in 3 years. Grocery prices aren't rising quite as fast, up 2.7% over the past year. But the message from on high is that Tyler will be forced to raise prices around the store yet again.
So essentially, National sends you this spreadsheet with hundreds of items with their SKUs, and they say, we're going to have to raise the price on this. And you have discretion over whether actually
whether we do it or not.
We don't do that
Yep.
because that item needs to stay low to attract customers.
Exactly.
And in July, where are the biggest markups?
This apricots has been a huge one. The bulk dried apricots.
It's going up.
Yeah, 140 over 6 months. That is its average change.
Wow, the average change for your bulk apricots.
146%.
Sour pickles up 83%. Sliced peaches up 97%. Mustard 73%. Matcha 73%.
Yeah. Bagels and English muffins 10%. That's high. It translates to 41 cents per unit. I mean, that's people will notice that.
Tofu's up 122%.
Yes, soybeans, because that's been a big thing with fertilizer, and most of them come from China. So all the tofu stuff is going to be getting very high and getting higher. Anything over 20% to me is high in a 6-month period.
Overall, these percent increases are attributable to...
Yes, all the inflationary factors.
To world events.
So prices around the store are going up fast.
Well, I wonder if you can, we can continue walking through the store. And in particular, if you can walk me through certain items where the price has gone up because of the war in Iran.
Yeah.
So where would that be in the store?
So we've got in this section.
I asked Tyler to walk me through the store and show me how specific items have been impacted by the war in Iran.
We have canola, safflower, sunflower, all of these types of oils.
And explain to me the journey it took to get here and how it arrived at that sticker price.
Here's your standard Field Day vegetable oil. Field Day is our everyday low price brand. Those went up 5% in the same month. Cost more to transport. It's coming from farther distances. And also with fuel prices, some of the olive oils like Equal Exchange, these are all from the West Bank. And so you factor in that conflict and then also the transportation and fuel costs getting here.
And will it continue to go up?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Glass is heavier, so that costs more to transport. Say like beer companies, like everybody went to aluminum cans instead of glass bottles because of the weight on the truck. there's a value to keeping it in glass. It's a better product experience than plastic. But at a certain point, they might have to make that decision that because it's so much heavier to transport, they might have to make decisions.
Your glass olive oil is the
Yep.
most expensive items on the shelf.
Oh, yeah.
At like
definitely. Yep.
$16.99, $23.99, but the ones in aluminum, $15.99.
Yeah, one glass jar could travel crisscross the country like 4 times. You know,
In theory, olive oil could be produced in the West Bank, then bottled in California, travel by freight to be warehoused in Illinois, before it is driven down the Pennsylvania Turnpike to this grocery store. All of that burns up a ton of fuel.
And then over here to the canned beans,
Yep.
are the prices for beans going up? Or anything with aluminum?
Aluminum, I think, is going to be the next one.
And then there's the cost of raw materials that go into packaging.
Like soda, anything that's packaged in an aluminum can, that's going to be the next thing. I think that sees a big price increase.
And why aluminum?
Last year, after Trump imposed a 50% tariff on aluminum imports, American buyers started sourcing more aluminum from the Middle East, only to find that after the U.S. attacked Iran, their new aluminum supply was stuck. Because shipping through the strait became impossible, some smelters in the Middle East, factories where aluminum is made, stopped production altogether. Others, like one in Abu Dhabi, were directly damaged by Iranian strikes. But even as the U.S. and Iran continue with peace talks, it will take a long time before supply is back to normal. The site in Abu Dhabi will have to be restored, and for the companies that stop production, a frozen line could take months to restart. Which means when the cost of aluminum drives up the cost of your olive oil in the coming months, it will stay that way for a while.
So where are we headed now?
But Tyler says there's really one item that reflects the forces leading to higher prices, better than any other.
We're going to head over to our meat section.
And that's beef.
Beef prices have gone up tremendously. It takes the most resources to have cows fed, basically, more so than chicken or seafood, anything like that. So beef is usually the first place we see a dramatic increase. 80-20 grass-fed beef, $9.99 for a 1-pound package
of ground beef.
Ground beef. When we introduced that brand, it was always $6.99. And then in the last year, so not necessarily strictly because of Iran, but all the fuel costs going up, like it's gone up $3 a pound just in the last year. So, when you got land in somewhere in the United States and you're raising a herd of cattle, it takes so much feed, okay? And industrial agriculture, a lot of that is coming from China. And so not only is it traveling a tremendous distance and there's all the associated fuel costs, but it's also getting stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. China, India, huge producers of feed and fertilizer, and they all go through that strait. Same with oil. And then you have to then ship your cows. They go to a meat processing plant, which it's all on trucks, transporting it, and then the packaging. So at every point, you're seeing an increase in cost.
And all that meat has to go into plastic,
Yep.
which is also going up.
It takes fuel. Yeah.
It takes fuel to make and
Exactly.
ship.
Yep. And then it all has to be cold, refrigerated, or frozen the entire time. If it loses the cold chain, it's waste. It's garbage.
And there is yet another thing driving up costs. Dairy farmers are going dry all across America. Down on their luck, struggling with their own price increases of running a farm. The share of farmers declaring bankruptcy has risen by 70% so far this year.
The next generation, for a lot of these farmers, they don't want to do it. They see how hard it is.
Here in Western Pennsylvania, Tyler's own beef suppliers have quit the business, meaning he now has to source his beef from further away, which could make his beef even more expensive. It's a problem for Tyler and his customers, but it's also a problem for the Trump White House, which is doing whatever it can to lower prices. Before the 4th of July weekend, a USDA official pressured leading chain stores like Kroger and Walmart to lower the price of ground beef. Walmart dropped its price by 12%. But this is just a temporary fix in the face of declining supply, rising costs, and unflagging demand for beef.
This is our most shoplifted case in the whole store.
You're kidding me.
Steaks and beef. Yep, we had to add a security guard in the morning. We only have one afternoon through closing time. We had to add one in the morning because it was getting shoplifted multiple times a morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I chased a guy down the street, which we don't do. But I was like, this is, like, you are taking from our community And it felt so blatant at that point. Like he literally had like a duffel bag.
Oh my
And I
God.
saw him standing here just throwing beef and ground beef and steaks and even like chickens into this duffel bag. And I tried to get him to drop it and he just bolted for the door. And I was like, I'm going after this. Like I can't
And
stomach
what
this
happened?
anymore. Well, I got like a block down the road and then I was like, this is stupid. Like I don't want to get stabbed for meat.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So he
But-
got away.
Yeah.
But this is like a jewelry heist. This is the
well,
beef
that's what I'm
case.
saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Tyler says it might be a while before beef prices stabilize, just like everything else. Economists have a name for it: rockets and feathers. Prices go up like rockets, but come down slowly like a feather. Because even if the strait reopens, and even if oil prices come down, disruption in the supply chain takes time to readjust. And if a new normal is accepted and there's no competition, manufacturers tend to keep the prices artificially high. And then if your grocery store buys in large quantities with prices locked in up to a year, they're stuck at that price for the year.
And I'll be curious to see when we go to another store. I don't know what's in that ground beef, but I'm also curious to see how much it costs at this point, even for like the lower quality, conventional, chemical beef products.
How much they're going for.
Exactly, yeah. 4 new grocery stores have opened within a 4-mile radius of us. The price increases is driving more people to the discount grocers. So we have an Aldi's less than a mile from here. They, at first, didn't really have much of an impact on us, but now that the food inflation has reared up again in a noticeable way, we are seeing more and more people choosing lower quality product at a discount grocer for more of their basket.
Tyler says he's already watched more of his customers shop at Aldi. And this is part of a bigger trend he reads in all the industry reports. A few years ago, even as prices were rising, customers would do their shopping at multiple stores, hitting each for their best deals and products. But now they're more likely to do almost all their shopping at one place, at a discount supermarket, and not places like East End.
And you can't survive if customers are just coming in for one or
Correct.
two products.
Yeah, like long-term, no.
Long-term, no.
Well, why would I have all this stuff?
If shoppers start to see East End as a place to go to for just a few items, and not the bulk of their groceries, he's not sure how it continues to survive.
Now, I understand that part of your job is also scoping out the prices of your competitors, like Aldi. Would you bring me onto one of those?
Yeah, I'd love to. That'd be really fun.
One of those trips, yeah.
Yeah, it would be my pleasure.
Okay, now how discreet do we have to be?
They may have like a media policy.
Okay, well, then maybe I will switch into different recording gear.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
just like a little bit more discreet.
Sure.
But maybe we should take a break. I would like to eat.
After the break, Tyler and Jess scope out the competition. We'll be right back.
This podcast is supported by Instagram. Instagram teen accounts default teens into automatic protections for who can contact them and the content they can see. Explore teen accounts and all of our ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
Tell me if any of this sounds familiar. Eating meat is the key to good health. Nicotine can boost brain function. GLP-1s are a miracle drug. I'm Danny Blum. I'm a health reporter at the New York Times. We're bombarded pretty much constantly with claims about how to live better and feel better, and it's really hard to separate fact from fiction. That's what really differentiates my reporting and the Times, is that I am scouring the science, I am speaking with leading experts, I am making sure that everything I write is rigorously researched, reported, and that I can back it up. And when the science isn't clear, sometimes that is the story, that we don't know the answers yet. And that's a level of nuance and depth you're not going to get just floating around the internet. That's what you get when you subscribe to the New York Times. If you already subscribe, thanks. If you'd like to, go to nytimes.com/subscribe.
Put this in your back pocket and just clip this onto your shirt.
Later on that afternoon, Tyler and I wired up and walked 8 minutes down a high-traffic street. Next to a vacated Rite Aid sits the Aldi.
Well, this Aldi looks really spanking new.
It is.
Tyler routinely scopes this place out since it opened a year and a half ago.
All right, let's go in.
Let's do it. I hate seeing a messy store. $1.49.
$1.49 for blackberries, which that's not a bad price.
No, it's a great price.
For Georgian-grown blackberries.
Yep, and honestly, they're probably very good. You get a nice little moldy.
Oh yeah, that's a moldy peach.
Yeah.
Inside the bag.
Yep. Maybe they're fantastic peaches, but Aldi's doesn't have employees who would be culling this and keeping it nice. Whereas we have staff who, part of their job in the produce department is to like get rid of stuff like that, because nobody wants to see that. That's their whole model, is like no labor. They just drop pallets on the floor. The bananas they don't even take out of a box.
This is a very different shopping experience than at Tyler's store. It's much bigger, the aisles are wider, no frills. As a shopper, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone to help you locate the parsley. The few workers we did see were clearing the sales floor of empty boxes or products were shipped in, and no workers were needed to wrangle carts. You rent a grocery cart for $0.25 and get that quarter back when you return it. No loose carts, no extra workers. Aldi told me in a statement that all of this is meant to drive down costs and lower prices, a strategy that seems to be working. Aldi is the fastest growing grocery store chain in the country, with 180 new stores underway.
This watermelon, what is $4.50? I can't even see it because there's some mush over the price.
It's like $4.65 maybe, and it's a good looking watermelon. Honestly, it's got a nice sunspot. I bet it's tasty.
And yours is going for $19 per watermelon out front.
Probably the local organic ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see these banana prices.
Everything's in boxes.
Yep, and everything's in plastic.
I mean, there's a broken egg
Yeah.
inside the fridge.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's just yolk
That's
all over
raunchy.
the ground. But I mean, for $1.46 a dozen, $1.46 a dozen. That is.
It's hard to beat.
I've never seen anything that low.
Yeah. They're buying a ton in volume for as many stores as they can get the product into to get that deal. Like, you may never see the same bag of chips twice. See what's over here and look at their beef. So we talked about that before. Yeah.
Let's see how low they can go.
When we arrive at the beef case, we see a wide selection. Some even going for $4.79 a pound.
Yeah, that looks busted.
This is the kind of beef Tyler didn't seem threatened by, until...
I'm curious what they...
We both looked up at the top shelf.
100% grass-fed.
And he reached overhead for a package, a pound of organic ground beef, going for $7.29.
Organic grass-fed.
No. Yeah, it is organic, yeah. I mean, that's tough, you know.
I guess, how do you feel seeing that?
I mean, it's disappointing. I mean, I'm glad that they're offering an organic option, grass-fed, to their folks. There are other considerations especially with meat, like humanely raised, that this doesn't talk about. Our standards include humanely raised, grass-fed, grass-finished. Also, because, I mean, in theory, you could give this cow one blade of grass and say it was grass-fed. It doesn't say that's the only thing it ever ate its whole life, you know? So that's a consideration. But
what are you feeling when you see that they're able to opt for, we don't really know how comparable, but to a consumer, pretty comparable product for
for a little
$2.70 less.
A lot of people buy ground beef. It's a staple for a lot of meat-eating customers, and it's a very price-sensitive category. It's very much one that people are attuned to.
Like eggs and milk.
Yep, exactly. So it's hard to say. We just got to stay on top of it all. You can't slouch. That's what this says to me. Like, we haven't lost. I'm a little surprised at the volume of the organic beef. Like I said, that and steaks, that's a little bit of a new thing for me.
Yeah, there's like a whole shelf.
Yeah, I said
that's like maybe 1/10 of their selection of beef is organic.
Yeah.
Does seeing this make you think you might want to lower your beef prices and then mark up something else in that store? And what would that be?
Yeah, possibly. That could be a solution. Or whatever my advertised deals items are that week, add a dime to that for each product instead of the biggest discount possible. I retain some.
Figuring out how to compete with Aldi's $7.29 grass-fed organic ground beef requires a little math. Tyler could raise the price on his lamb, but he doesn't sell enough lamb to make up for what he's losing in beef. So he could raise the price of a couple of other items around the store. Or, normally he wouldn't have enough storage to buy ground beef at a high volume and its lowest price. But he could bet that with a promotional price, He could sell beef fast enough that he wouldn't have to worry about storing it for long.
We're not going to drive Aldi's out of the organic ground beef market. But you have to try, is the thing. Is like you use all the tools in your toolkit and regain a little bit of that ground. All right. Anything else in here? Or I think we're good?
And with that key bit of intel, our reconnaissance trip was complete.
The exit might be open.
Oh, yeah. They force you to go through the cash register.
Oh, yeah.
You got to break out of this Aldi's.
After our visit to Aldi, Tyler is figuring out a way to lower the price of his ground beef by raising the price of his frozen beef and negotiating a lower rate with his beef supplier. He's hoping to offer his ground beef at $8.99, $1 lower than what he'd been charging. It's not the $7.29 at Aldi, but Tyler says it's close enough to compete and low enough to put on flyers as a promotion item to customers. But that's just one item in a store of thousands. Right now, he's putting in pre-orders for turkeys that would lock him in at current high inflationary prices, not knowing what he can sell them for come November. It's a high-wire act balancing these prices, with the hope that it all adds up. And then I think about the customers at both East End and at Aldi, who ask me if the cost of groceries will ever go down. What will happen in 5 or 10 years, and what would it mean for their children? Tyler can't say for certain, but he says costs going up is just how it always goes. Even if we see inflation numbers go down, it doesn't translate to normal food prices. It just means prices rise slower. And if one of the fallouts of the war in Iran is that a new fee will be imposed on every ship passing through the strait, he says those costs will continue to be passed on to customers who have long gotten the message that they will just have to adapt.
Customer assistance to the peanut butter machine. Customer assistance to the peanut butter machine. Thank you.
Do you blame anyone? Like, do you want someone to do something about this?
It's nothing that can be done about that. You gotta bite the bullet in a way. I gotta find a way to come up with the money, you know?
I'm sure it's like 50,000 reasons and excuses why we're slammed with this.
What are you supposed to do? Price, it goes up. It's just the way life is, you know what I mean? So you have to be able to adapt to it.
A lot of moms adapt. We're resilient.
We gotta adapt. You know, yeah, we gotta adapt.
Are you finding that you have to make certain sacrifices to make ends meet?
Cut back what I eat. I pack my lunch now. For 4 months, I eat watermelon every day for lunch.
For 4 months, you ate watermelon
I still
for
do
lunch?
every day, yeah.
Is that enough?
Yeah, watermelon with an apple, yeah, and my water, yeah, you get adjusted to it.
And how much watermelon are we talking for lunch?
4 or 5 nice pieces. I put in the containers about that big, and I put that in there, and then I have an apple, and I have a bottle of water.
The food that I can eat is very limited. I can't just get peanut butter. I have to get like sunflower seed butter, which is extremely expensive. So sometimes I just won't eat.
You just won't eat?
Yeah, so like I've lost a lot of weight.
How long has this been going for that you feel like you have to skimp?
It's been quite a while.
I have kids that are cheerleaders. I have boys that play sports. They have practice, so they were hungrier than usual. And my kids often are like, "Can I have some more?" I'm just like, "Sure."
And that's your portion?
Sometimes. But then I'll survive off of something small.
Like what?
Like I'll go eat ramen noodles or something. I'll make them dinner and then I'll go eat their chicken nuggets or something. You can't eat like how you used to. Like you have to like space it out a lot. You don't run out of food.
You mean eat less?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, eat less and budget more.
That seems like a real sacrifice and real change.
It is. Sometimes try to eat once a day or just twice.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and not too much portions.
Just eat just enough. Eat to not be entirely full, but just eat just enough for your body to be okay, basically.
Have you ever had to do this in your life?
No.
Always overate.
Yeah.
And, do that. Yeah, you know. We try to make like pastas, chickpea and rice kind of thing, like, you know, jackfruit burgers. You know, we try.
What's your guys' relationship to each other?
We're wives.
Oh.
We have 2 teenage boys.
2 teenage boys.
12 and 14.
They eat a lot.
Yeah.
They eat more than often.
And
And
it's
that's why
the
we have
summertime,
to sacrifice or, eating as much because they need the nutrition.
I see.
So, like, worried of, not being able to provide for my family or that we are going to be okay for today.
A number of grocery store chains, including Walmart, Target, and Costco, recently announced that they're cutting prices on some of their key products. But even with those deals, Americans' grocery bills are unlikely to fall. According to the Department of Agriculture, prices across all food categories are expected to rise 3.2% this year. We'll be right back.
All right, folks, I was here listening with you. Somebody said, "Did you leave?" No, I'm here. Isn't that fascinating? 3.2% increase for them in the US with their population size. You've got people eating watermelon to try to survive. Anybody else thinking, what the hell? As Caribbean people, we have gotten so used to the privilege, and it is a privilege, eating oxtail, rice and beans. We want plantain, we want potato salad, we want this, we want that. Our children getting free lunches. The government pays for that, so it's actually not free. We're all paying for it. The real cost, folks, of fuel increases, the cost of living, the cost of food, there's lots and lots of driving forces. So if big countries like the US are struggling, even with their population size, with their farms, with their resources, I guess the question I'm going to leave today, because I'm going to end this segment here and we're going to pick up the conversation tomorrow. So I want you to think about it. This is your homework. What hope do we have, right? If they're struggling with price control, meats, you see what they said about why meats are going up. What real hope do we have of containing our prices? And nobody has a solution. I mean, we know there's been a lot of factors that have driven up the cost. Of course, the latest one being the war in Iran, the fuel crisis associated with that, the chain supply disruptive issues that have fallen out as a result of that. But some of the nuances that were talked about, like the price of aluminum, so anything in cans now going up, I found fascinating because how many of you, I agree with YouTuber. YouTuber says, I found that those who complain about Cayman don't do the research, are very myopic and narrow-minded. And that was the point of sharing this, is we need to understand on a global scale, on a bigger scale, how prices are determined, how they're impacted. So when we jump up during the political season and we say that our politicians need to come up with a solution for cheaper food in our grocery stores, how exactly is that going to happen? How are they going to do it? You think that the food, let's go to South America. We can go to Honduras and get it cheaper. We can go to Jamaica and get it cheaper. So you mean to tell me that you actually believe that in Honduras and Jamaica, they're not having some of the exact same issues there? The exact same price increases? Maybe it's not as volatile because they're physically closer to us. So how we can import the meat and how we get it might be, the chain supply might be a little bit better. But these are some real concerns where people are having to decide. I mean, heaven forbid the day that I have to give up ice cream, not for the weight loss reason, because that would be a good reason to give it up, but because you simply can't afford it. Haagen-Dazs ice cream is seen as a luxury ice cream. Haagen-Dazs is not no luxury ice cream, child. That's just a regular Friday run-of-the-mill ice cream situation. But when you are having to cut corners, even with your food bill, when you cannot afford to go to the grocery store and throw whatever you want in your cart, you have to think about, wow, I'm going to have to sacrifice my Haagen-Dazs for this. No more brownies. Can't buy the ingredients for it. Right? A guy eating watermelon every day, I don't even know how he got full off of watermelon, because watermelon's like largely water. I'm like, watermelon? These are the real world decisions that people are having to make. Some of these people, as you can see, have children. And they're talking about, their children can't eat certain things because they can't afford it. So that's going to have a trickle down nutritional impact. I found this to be such an interesting podcast. I wanted to share it with you guys. Andrew says, God forbid if things get worse due to the world crisis, what is Cayman Islands going to do? And I actually think that they're, by and large, our grocery stores, I do feel like they do a pretty good job of sourcing a good supply, a good variety of things for us, but everything comes at a cost. I always chuckle when I see the women, for example, in the women's group, Women in Cayman, talk about they want their British brands. What's it called? Wait, something begins with W. I don't even know. I'm not really familiar with British brands, but there's one that they're always talking about. And then they're like, oh my God, it's so expensive. I'm like, presumably it's coming all the way from the UK, yes? What makes you think it's going to be cheap? Of course it's going to be expensive. I don't even know how Foster's sources it, but they do. All the grocery stores here, I think, do a really fantastic job of having a lot of international foods available. But you're going to pay the price of like a premium price for that sort of thing. And it is what it is. Anthony says, to be honest, that story is two-sided. It all comes down to choice. Don't blame war costs. All we heard was people wanting olive oil and organic meat, and how Aldi opened 180 stores in this economy. People just need to economize. Well, it's not always easy, Anthony. Of course, people are saying that they're making decisions. They are cutting back. And they're having a lot of things that, but some essential things, products, we've seen the volatility in some of those. Orange juice prices going up. Not that orange juice is particularly good for you. Eat the orange. But once again, Cayman doesn't have any orange groves or anything here that we can get oranges from. So we have to source and import a lot of the foods that we eat. And, I think understanding what's happening elsewhere in the world on a global scale, or even just another country right next door to us, like the US, because once again, Cayman is like, oh, I can go to Miami and I can do that. And I have gone to Miami, gone in a Walmart, and I see the prices. They're not what they used to be. They have gone up exponentially over the years. So there are times when I can actually get something cheaper in Cayman that I can in the States, right? And this is the struggle. And so as we look and we talk about things like food security and options available to us here in this country, we also need to be realistic and knowledgeable about exactly what is happening elsewhere in the world. Hey, Jesse. Jesse says, if you look at the global ocean cargo, it has increased dramatically from Q2 to Q3, so prices will also reflect that in Q4. Some up to 50%. Oh my God. And as a country that imports everything, that increase is on food, it's on all of our goods, which 99% imported in, our vehicles, like every single thing. Oil, because it takes transportation to truck stuff all over the place and to even get it to us. Those boats that are importing all of our goods need oil, need gas in order to operate. And so, yes, it has an immediate impact on our lives. Thank you so much, Jesse. It's just really crazy, I think, in terms of what's going on here. It's easy to say plant what you eat, but there's only so much you can plant. I mean, let's say you planted all that. You had an ackee tree, you had a breadfruit tree, you had a banana tree, mangoes, papaya, callaloo, bok chow, and cabbage. If you could get all of that to grow at a sustainable amount to feed your family, where are your meat coming from? A lot of people are meat eaters. Not everybody's a vegetarian. So tell me in there, okay, you get some chicken for egg. That's a source of protein. Where are you going to get your oxtail from and your chicken? I mean, we're going back to skinning the chicken and not skinning them. What do we call it? Plucking their feathers and whatever. I mean, Andrew, most people don't have the resources to do that. I guess if things get desperate enough, you can grab anything off the street and eat it. But, no matter what you do, you have to go to the grocery store. There's no one in Cayman, I'm willing to bet, that could be 100% self-sufficient, even if they have a larger size farm, right? There are seasonal things that you can't get sometimes, so you have to go to the grocery store and buy them frozen or whatever when they were frozen at their optimal production time. There's just a lot, I feel like, that all these things sound great in principle. And I support local farmers. I went to the farmers market just a couple of days ago, and I got some of the things that I love. I got seasoned peppers because they've been really hard to find. I don't know why, but they've been impossible to find. So I bought a couple seasoned peppers. I got some turned mangoes because my mango tree is now done. So I can't get mangoes again for another year off of my own tree, I mean. But we can import mangoes from all over the world because there's different mango cycles depending on the type of mango that you're getting. I got a few things from the farmers market, so I try to support them in any way that I can. But sometimes you go there and they don't even have some of the basic things that you want. So a lot of the local farmers, yes, they produce what they produce. It's not cheap either. To buy local farm, and big shout out to the government. And I think the next time the minister is on, he needs to talk about this. The government goes a long ways to help local farmers. The agriculture department does a lot that you guys may not know about to help them be sustainable and to help them. But you have production shortages right now because of the white mealy bug, right? Her production has gone down on certain trees. This is actually a very low season, for example, for mangoes. A lot of mango trees this year did not produce any fruit, or they produced very, very little. So I hear you about farming and doing it yourself. If you have the time, the soil, the rich soil, and the resources to do that, more power to you. Absolutely. You can try to do it organically. But have you ever tried to have any degree of farming, Anthony? Poor little Marlon, when he had his garden beds, constantly fighting the snails, the chickens. The second you plant any seeds, they come digging stuff up. They're such a nuisance. I mean, even to do it on a smaller scale just for your household is not as easy as people make it out to be. So I'm all for the concept, but the application of it becomes much more difficult. Then you have some farmland in East End and other places where people are doing it on a much wider scale. But again, bringing that to you, the price that you pay, believe it or not, for local produce tends to be higher and more expensive. Talk to Woody Foster. Talk to any of the grocery stores. They pay a premium price to bring you organic, non-chemical, locally grown produce than sometimes even importing it in. So that's not necessarily the cheaper solution. That might be a solution for other reasons, like maybe supposedly it's healthier and they're not using chemicals, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're just talking about dimes and money, it's a very different situation there as well. Rennie says, I have a question. Did the minimum wage increase contribute positively or negatively? This is one of those questions, honey child, that somebody like maybe a Marla Dukaran needs to really, do the research on, because I'm not convinced that it has helped at all. I understand the concept of people having more money to spend in a country such as Cayman, but I honestly think that it has driven up the cost of a lot of things, especially for smaller businesses. And so, it's something to really think about. Anyway, I'm going to leave you there. We were waiting on the lying in state to officially start for Miss Francine. It looks like it has begun. And what we will do is we will actually we'll show that we'll pull it out later on and air it and show that to all of you. So the ceremonies are beginning for the Honorable Francine E. Jackson's lying in state, and we will air that a bit later on. Again, condolences to her family. The most respect for Miss Francine. She's was such an amazing person and quite a loss to that community, to the community. All right, folks, thank you so much. Anthony says government is hush on that. Raise cost of wages increase only benefited expats. Again, without the data, who knows? And that's where we need to really, what's it called? Waitrose. That's the English brand that they're always going on and on about. I guess that's supposed to be good food. I don't know. But there you go. I saw something. Did I purchase one of their products the other day? I feel like I saw something in the grocery store and I was like, let me try this. Because these people are, was it butter or something they had? I thought, this looks interesting. I want to try it. But I can assure you that it is still a privilege to be able to go to the grocery store and pick up something without really thinking that much about the cost of it. I feel very, very fortunate to be in that situation where the cost of something at the grocery store is not something that I personally need to look at in terms of, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to eat. I may still go, you know what? Because I'm trying to be economical. I'm not going to pay the name brand for the butter versus this. But then again, I made a nice thing of mac and cheese the other day at our barbecue 2 weeks ago almost. And I make my gourmet version of my barbecue and I make the regular version. And I can tell you that when people taste the gourmet version, there is a difference. You know what the gourmet version difference is? I use high-end cheeses. You know how expensive a little block of cheese can be when you're buying the good stuff? All $10, $15 for a block of cheese. But it makes a difference in the way that the mac and cheese taste. And so there are times when I'm making mac and cheese, I splurge on 6 gourmet brand cheeses because my mac and cheese would be like a 12 cheese mac and cheese, honey chat. I'll be putting so much cheese in there. But, I use a variety of different cheese types. It changes the taste of it and it's a better taste. And everybody was raving about it. One of her guests said that her son normally doesn't even like mac and cheese, honey child. But when he tasted my mac and cheese, he wanted more. It is that good, but it's a premium experience. You know what I'm saying? I don't make mac and cheese every single week around here. No, we do it every occasion. And so I can afford to splurge on it. I think that we are very, very fortunate when we're in that position where I don't have to be like, boy, I want to make my gourmet mac and cheese, but I can't afford to do so. But we love to complain about a lot. Don't get me wrong. Caymanians, we are the one thing that we have finessed and have become expert at, I feel like, is complaining about everything under the sun and expecting our government to do everything for us, which to me is kind of wild. Anyway, tomorrow I want to talk a little bit more about the CUC angle because there's still things I'm learning even about the government relief program. For example, did you know that under the government release program is what? Them expensive cheeses stink. Anthony, you don't even know what you're talking about. Which cheese you talking about? We need to improve your palate. One day I'll make some and bring you a little piece because I don't know what you're talking about, honey child. But we need to talk about the CUC element because did you guys know, for example, that people who are solar customers, I didn't even pick this up on my bill, I'm not getting the benefit of the government relief program because I'm a solar customer. Did you know that? Did you know that solar customers are exempted from this government release program? Nobody told me that. I was shocked to find this out yesterday. But this is why we got to do our digging and we have to do our research. So I'll be in touch further, folks, to tell you guys more about it. So please stay tuned. But I do need to get on the road and catch some news and do some other things. So I will see you guys on the other side tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.